Alright, real quick, I just wanted to give a full disclosure. All of my voice audio from my original recording never happened. I don't actually know what caused it, but for some reason I have the gameplay audio that went with the clips, but I don't have anything that I said. And so I recorded this a few days ago, so I mostly remember what I was talking about, but some of it is obviously going to be different, so please bear with me, and I just wanted to say that up front before I explain what we're doing here. I planned on doing a bit of a time-lapse in this episode anyway, but with the audio issues it's going to be a little bit more than expected. Before we get too far into this, I want to explain what this series is about, because I do have a specific purpose for it. One of my favorite things that Planet Zoo has that no other game that I've seen recently have is the idea of genetics for animals. And with the breeding mechanics, we can, over time, breed animals that are better and better until all of their stats reach 100. And so that is the goal, to eventually have every species of animal get to 100. But the problem is that I don't think my computer will be able to handle every single species. So we're going to end up doing like maybe 10 at a time, and we'll just breed them and get them to the point where they're at 100. And then once they're at 100, we'll check them off the list and we'll say, okay, that's done. And we'll end up substituting a new species in there. It might end up being more than 10 in the zoo, because I think my computer can handle more than 10. But it might be hard to manage, especially if I try to do like maybe 2 exhibits for each species just to have multiple breeding pairs. I didn't want this challenge to end up being too easy, which is why I also made a rule for myself that every animal that I buy, at least 2 of the last 3 stats, so anything besides the size, 2 of them have to be 50% or lower for me to buy the animal from the market, whether that's with conservation leaves or with just cash. I definitely think it would be way too easy if I just bought an animal that already had like 80% on everything. I'm treating this almost like a rescue, where I'm just buying animals that maybe other people wouldn't want, but instead of them just sitting in the market, I'm giving them a second chance, even though obviously they're not real animals, but just that's kind of the basic idea behind the story that I'm trying to play out here. As a bonus goal, I also want to try to make the zoo look prettier and more unique than my previous franchise zoos that I've done in the past on my own. Those have all looked like gridded cities or whatever. They're all just basically squares, and which is nice in terms of structure and order and everything, but I want to give myself a little bit of a challenge, both creatively and organizationally. I think that'll make everything a little bit more interesting and honestly more fun. One of the major challenges in franchise mode is how the power is all up front, so I had to put all my staff buildings near the entrance. Later on, when I have more money, I'll be able to move everything to where I actually want it, but for now we're going to have to make do with this and make it look as nice as possible with what we have. But as you can see, I bought a pair of African wild dogs, and so I'm going to play some music while I finish building the habitat for them. I just wanted to jump in here and also mention that I have not had a lot of experience with the terrain controls. I kind of know how they work, but I haven't done a lot with actually creating something nice with it, and so that's why I wanted to use it a little bit more in this series. So that's why I'm trying to make the African wild dogs shelter out of terrain, so I would make them a little cave with a tunnel through it, just to try it out and see what I can make. Later on in the series, I also want to try my hand at creating custom shelters from the building items, but that's going to come when we make some more money and I'll decide what I want to do when the time comes. So for now, we're just going to try terrain first. I decided to slow it down here when I unpaused the game for the very first time, so we can see how the wild dogs react to their new habitat and see the first guests coming in to see them. I just need to do a bit of their terrain and then wait for the vet research so we can get them some enrichment in here soon. I also didn't end up putting any plants in here yet, and that was mostly just to save money and then save a little bit of time. But in the future, once we start, making a bit of money, then I'm gonna go back and make it look a bit more realistic, because obviously it just looks like flat ground with a big cave / mountain in the middle. So I understand that it doesn't look super realistic yet. But I just wanted to get the exhibit open and so people could come in and see them. I'm feeling pretty good about the zoo so far. I know we're just starting out, but even with buying all the staff buildings, we still have a lot of money left over, and we already have one exhibit and hopefully some profit coming in from the donation boxes. I just wanted to check and see if the wild dogs could access the top of their shelter. It looks like they can. I'm not sure if they'll actually go up there, but I just thought it'd be interesting if they could. But now I'm just going to go into a quick time lapse again, this time just to create a little plaza and a food court. I ended up moving all these trees again. I decided that instead of doing like a nature thing in the center, which is what my original plan was, is that I'm going to end up putting at least 1 or 2 habitats in there. I actually wanted to have the food court in a different place than it ends up being, but I had to stay within where we have power so far, which is kind of unfortunate, but I made it work. That's part of what being creative is all about, right? I also had to get really creative about making this path work the way I wanted it to, which is fine. It just took a while, and that's why I sped this up, because it was tedious to do it, and so I assume it would be even more tedious to watch me do it. But eventually I did make it so that I could put a plaza and have some benches and tables and garbage cans where I needed them, and so it worked out. Just like everything else, this might change at some point, but for now it looks pretty nice. It's got everything it needs so the guests can get some food, drink, some information items, and they have places to sit and throw everything out, so we won't have to worry about that. Now, to end the episode off, I'm going to pick the animal that we're going to build a habitat for in the next episode. And because the new Arctic DLC just came out recently, I'm actually going to pick the Arctic wolf. I think they're so cute, and I think it's going to be fun to create a habitat for them. And so yeah, I just bought 3 of them real quick, and we're going to build them a nice habitat in the next episode. So hopefully you'll stick around and come back and watch that. Until next time, I'll see you later.